Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Vetiva Breakfast Meeting brought to you by Vetiva Capital in partnership with Frontier Africa Reports. In today's session, Symbiat Equities Desk will be taking us through equities through some equities across West African markets, while Omar Regale will take us through fixed income and currencies in Nigeria. Following that, we'll be hearing from Boss and Amofai on other updates from other African markets. Before we start the session, we'd like everyone to note that the meeting is being recorded and may be shared with third parties. We'd also like everyone to know that the session is being streamed live on our Vetiva Online Facebook page, and you can also view from that platform. During the course of the session, you may send questions in using any of the comment sections available on Zoom or Facebook. At the end of the session, or towards the end of the session, we'll also have a Q&A segment where you'll be allowed to raise a hand if you prefer to speak. If you're unable to get to your questions at the end of the session, we encourage you to send your questions to research@vetiva.com, and we'll send out responses as soon as possible. To start the session today, we'll be having Symbiat, who will take us through equities. Good morning, Symbiat.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be taking us through some of the equities markets in West Africa. Starting off with Ghana. We saw the market closing flat in yesterday's session as the composite index remained unchanged. In total, we saw 14 stocks trade trade yesterday. That is 14 out of 39 stocks. Also, there were no gainers nor losers in this session. We continue to see familiar names like we've been mentioning dominating the scene. Names like ETI, MTN Ghana, Societe Generale. Also, ETI recorded the highest volume of trade yesterday. Putting that in context, ETI traded about 95% of the total volume. So taking that out of the market, it was a quiet session. Looking at our expectation for today, we do not expect to see any dramatic shift. From what we've been seeing in the market, we still expect to see familiar names dominate the trading sessions. Moving on to BRVM. BRVM returned to positive territory yesterday as we saw the composite index appreciate 72 basis points. Thereby recording a 10.32% year-to-date return. We saw most of the indices tracking different sectors, also closing positive, with the exception of the BRVM agricultural index, which closed slightly down by 0.34%. It is important to note that despite these sectors closing in the green, market activity wasn't enough to improve market activity, as we saw a decline in both the volume and turnover traded yesterday. Volume declined by about 20% and turnover also did as well by 56%. Our expectation for today, we still expect names like CI, Cote d'Ivoire, Sonatel, and ETI to dominate market activity, while investors await other earnings release. Based on that, they will make decision. It's also important to note that Sode, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nestle have declared dividends, so it's interesting to see how those names will trade today. Then finally, over to the Nigerian market. We saw the Nigerian market continuing to trade in the positive. as all share index gained 17 basis points. It is important to note that this is the fourth consecutive gain we've seen in the market starting last week, Friday. This was driven by gains majorly in the banking NIMs, which is what we've been expecting and what we've been seeing in recent sessions. We saw significant returns in names like Access and GT Holding. Access gained 272 basis points. GT Holding also did about 188 basis points. Market activity also continues to improve as volume improved by 2.49% and also turnover as well by 5.95%. Speaking to sectorial performance, all sectors closed positive yesterday, with the insurance index leading the pack, which gained about 61 basis points, followed closely by the banking sector, which gained 45 basis points yesterday. What we expect for today, we still see investors tilting towards the banking stocks. This is in line with what we said yesterday, although we expect to see increased activity level across sectors. And we also might see some form of profit taken by some of those names that have gained in recent sessions. That will be all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Simbiat. Next up, we'll be hearing from Omarege on fixed income and currencies in Nigeria. Good morning, Omarege.
Good morning, everybody. System liquidity improved, declined significantly yesterday to open at about 53.53 billion positive from the 205.76 billion positive that was seen on Tuesday. As a result of the drop in system liquidity, interbank rate tightened by over 25 basis points as OBB and overnight rate closed at 10% and 10.5% respectively. Our expectation for today is that the money market will trade at higher levels as players make funding provision for a possible home auction today. The parallel market remained flat yesterday to trade at 503 naira to $1, while the annual window opened at 411.79 naira to $1. The highest rate that was recorded in yesterday's trading session was about 420.86 naira to $1, while the closing rate was 411.45 naira to $1, the same level we closed on Tuesday. Brent crude oil lost about 0.33% yesterday to close at $72.19 per barrel. The oil price has recorded 2 consecutive days of losses amid the OPEC Plus deadlock. WTI crude also lost about 0.48% yesterday to close at $71.85 per barrel. In the T-bills market, it was a different day, but the story was still the same. The T-bills market traded on a very muted note, with few buy-side interest in on the long-dated maturities. The maturities that enjoyed the most action yesterday was the 26th May 2022 and the 30th June 2022. Bids on the newly issued one-year paper, which is the 30th June 2022, offered around 8.75% levels, or the best offer that we're seeing in the market were around 8.65% levels. Consequently, few trades were consummated on that end. We also saw some trades consummated on the CBN Special NTB, that's the 30th August 2021 maturity. Overall, average benchmark rate remained flat at 6.24%. The OMO segment was also very quiet yesterday, with slight bearishness witnessed on the long end of the benchmark curve, particularly on the February 2022 paper. Overall, average benchmark rate increased marginally by 2 basis points to close at 9.53%. The bonds market traded on a very quiet note during the early hours of yesterday's trading session. However, activity picked up during the closing hours following the release of the Q2 FGM bond issuance calendar as players took strategic positions. The calendar shows that the DMO plans to borrow between 150 billion to 180 billion, across 3 tenors. It's also very important to know that the short and mid tenor have been replaced. So what will be offered at subsequent auctions in July, August, and September will be the 2028 maturity as against the 2027 maturity that has been offered in the previous auctions, and also the 2036 as against the 2035 maturity that was also offered in previous auctions. But the offer on the long end remains the 2050 maturity. Most of the trades that were consummated yesterday were on the 2023, 2045, and the 2050 maturities, with average benchmark rate increasing by about 2 basis points to close at 12.49%. The local Eurobond market recorded a very active session yesterday with buy-side interest on the long-dated sovereigns, Nigeria 2030, Nigeria 2031, Nigeria 2032, the Nigeria 2038, Nigeria 2047, and the Nigeria 2049, with average rates declining by about 2.9 basis points, while strong demand was seen on the EcoBank corporate Eurobond with over $50 million traded across EcoBank Nigeria 2026, EcoBank Transnational April 2024, and EcoBank Transnational June 2031. In another news, the Senate approved the 2.3 trillion naira external loan request yesterday. So that's about $6 billion US. So what this basically tells us is that there will be a new Eurobond issuance very soon. So our expectation for the market today is that we will see activity pick up in the bonds market as players continue to create strategic positions following the release of the Q3 FGM bond issuance calendar yesterday, while the T-bills market will most likely trade on a very quiet note as attention will shift to a possible more auction that will happen today. That will be all for fixed income. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Morigi. Finally, we'll be hearing from Bosin Amofai on headlines across Africa. Good morning, Bosin.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Just to add a little bit to the last speaker on the fixed income and the borrowing plans that was approved by the Senate Committee for the federal government. We want to believe that this borrowing plan, which is technically about $6.1 billion, will be inclusive of the multilateral loan that the Nigerian government had requested from the World Bank, which had been pending since last year, of course, which the country director for the World Bank says is the money had been approved by the executive board of the World Bank, but Nigerian authorities, especially the Senate, had not passed or has not approved the loan request. That was the last interview that we got from the World Bank resident rep in Nigeria. So we believe that there'll be a Eurobond, and most likely the easiest window for the Nigerian government right now is to immediately approach the World Bank to get that about a 2.5 billion or thereabout dollars into the kitty. Now that the money has been approved by the World Bank, we expect the IMF to be very speedy in speaking with the World Bank to get this money in. Then the Eurobond, as anyone else expects, we'll see how that goes. So we believe that money will be coming in anytime soon. We'll ask a few questions around and we'll brief the meeting on the latest that we have on that, on whether when the World Bank funding money will come in. If we widen it out a little bit, we got our PMI for the month of June for the private sector below the 54.4 they printed in May. We came in at 53.6, but we're still above water, by the way, because 50.0 is the minimum average level in which you're positive in terms of that. Looking at the other headline stories, the race for the vaccine is continuing because part of the loan approved for the government yesterday, about 895 billion naira, includes the provision for the vaccine. So Nigeria wants to buy vaccine. Kenya is looking for about $31 million US to also for vaccines as well. Namibia is also doing the same thing. In Southern Africa, the brewers, of course, we all know, took the government to court over the ban of alcohol. Now, the Association of Restaurants have also joined the brewers in this pushback that alcohol will naturally kill people if they overdrink and overdrive or drive recklessly, but not because of COVID-19. So the restaurants and the brewers in South Africa are challenging that development. The Zimbabwe Stock Exchange has its own central, it's set to launch its own central depository, securities depository, a CSD, which is another game changer for the existing exchange and for the new stock exchange in Victoria Falls. If we go north a bit with the Egyptian market, they currently try to change their new trading system. So they're going through trial sessions. The new version will be inaugurated anytime from later July or early in August. We're keeping an eye on that particular development as well. For the rest of the continent, quite a bit of a decent trading day for yesterday within the North African market. Egypt came in with about $67.2 million US dollars. As we expect, the index went up massively, 1.2%. Foreign investors were also major buyers into that market. We saw the same thing play out in East Africa with the Kenyan market, about $4.2 million US dollars in net value in dollar terms of the total transactions. As we all expect, the market moved up. Safaricom share prices was up about 20 basis points on the back of the announcement that the head of Vodacom in DR Congo is the one heading to Ethiopia to head the new unit that Safaricom and Vodacom and a consortium of others have been able to secure the license. The banking sector plays some role in yesterday's market as well, with Equity Bank, Bank of Kenya, and Kenya Commercial Bank. Down in Southern Africa for the market, it was a very big day as well, with 1.5% gain in the stock market. The currency, with the rest of the emerging markets, didn't have such a very spectacular day in terms of the emerging markets FX index, which was down 0.3. However, since the year started, the rand seemed to have done pretty well, and investors taking all that on board, looking at the current situation at the global marketplace. Right now we have the US Federal Reserve Open Market Committee minutes of their last meeting, which is just released overnight. That was the meeting for the June 15 and 16. The whole talk about inflation and interest rate in the US is all in that. How that will play into the markets today in the dollar space, that remains everyone's guess. But again, the impact on other asset classes like oil and then gold. Gold crossed the 1800 yesterday evening at about 1700 GMT. We're looking at this dollar comeback because central bankers around the world are beginning to lower their appetite for gold purchases. Last year, they did massive buy of gold reserves because of the fear around the pandemic. Now, other buyers are coming into the market, and we can see the precious metal price climbing up. Got the 1800 back yesterday, which was another major fit for the yellow metal. I think that's about all for today. Oh, by the way, on a final note, the Making Market for Work for Africa, which is an initiative or a subsidiary of the EFDB, will be launching a long-term finance platform today. What the platform is expected to do is for information exchange relating to long-term finance in Africa. So it has all the information, good practices, success stories in the long-term finance space. All of this together for those who are on the macro side and those who are on the market side. I think it would be good to check it up later today. It's coming through on the AFDB and the subsidiary, which is the Making Finance Work for Africa, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Boyson. I think that concludes it for our presentations for today. We'll just take 1 minute to wait for any questions that we may have. All right, I can see that we have no question for us today. We thank everyone for joining us in this session, and we hope that you have a productive day ahead and that we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining and good morning.